So what if I told you one of the biggest reasons you're struggling with emotional eating isn't about the amount of calories you're consuming? It's the way you're thinking about your food. For so many years, we've been taught that food is calories in equals calories out. Control this food, move more, eat less, count everything. Eat this macro, don't eat this macro. Essentially control everything. What if I told you that thinking this way is pulling you further from your body and further away from healing your emotional eating? And so if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. So let's dive in. So obviously I am a holistic nutritionist. I understand nutrition and metabolism and all of these beautiful things. And calories are an important component of food. They're not the be-all end-all of food. Calories tell us how much energy is in a food, but they don't tell us the totality of a food, the nourishment value of a food, how it's interacting with your body. It's just one of the many numbers it contains. And so knowing the calories in a food doesn't tell you how it's going to nourish you. When you're an emotional eater, typically what happens is that you are usually trying all of these diets to control food because that's what you see on the surface. You feel out of control with food. You don't feel like you have a handle on food. You see the scale creeping up. You don't feel good in your body. Your health is deteriorating. And you're like, if only I could control the food. And that is so on the surface. So food, while it's important to have a healthy relationship to food and to learn how to nourish yourself, it's not going to be the place that transforms your emotional eating. You have to look deeper. And I get it. We've been sold in our society that if we just can stick to the diet, if we can just willpower, we will be healthy, we will have the right body weight, we will be in the right shape, we'll have everything figured out. And for some people, having a plan works, but I invite you to explore a little bit deeper. How are those people living? What's going on in their minds? Do they feel at ease with food? Is this plan coming from them or from the outside? Most of the diets that we're trying are coming from studies that are done on men for the majority of the time because they have consistent hormonal cycles day to day, which makes looking at scientific data a lot easier. Women have a 28-day cycle if they are menstruating. And so to do studies on women of that age range is very difficult. And so a lot of the data that's coming out is from studies done mostly on men. And then we're taking that information and saying, hey, this is how I have to eat. This is what the science is saying. But when you're an emotional eater, it's not that easy. And you already start seeing the issue. If this is something created for men, how would it work for a woman's body? How would you know it's working for you? How can you tell? The better question we need to ask about these studies and these diets is, how does this feel in my body? Does it nourish me? How do I feel? And we're not asking that. When we feel so out of control with food, when you're an emotional eater, you are trying to get the right diet to fix you because you think you are so broken and something's wrong with you. Our society just tells us that. You're wrong, you're broken, you need this plan to tell you how to eat, versus how do you actually start tuning into your body, knowing when it's hungry, knowing what it needs, knowing how different foods feel to it, knowing how it feels when it digests the food, when it's not hungry, when you're emotionally hungry. These are the questions we need to ask. But on the surface, it looks like we are a society that is over-consuming food and that we have no control. But we need to rewind and go further back to, where did this pattern start? I'm going to keep this video focused on emotional eaters. And so if we go all the way back, emotional eating started because you didn't have a way to calm yourself, to regulate yourself, soothe yourself from uncomfortable emotions. Whether you came from a household where you felt your parents did their best or it was very critical and dysfunctional, either way, if your parents or caregivers could not be the model of how to move through their emotions, to create a calm space for you to feel, to create a calm environment, to have a calm nervous system to help you process and move through your emotions, it means you are left feeling discomfort. and you're left with these uncomfortable emotions. And sometimes it could be parents that are doing their best and they have a hard day and they say, they don't want you. They feel, when you're upset, it upsets them. So they give you a cookie, they give you ice cream. They try to get you out of the discomfort you're feeling, not with what you actually need, but with a substitute like food. Or maybe they don't know how to feel their own emotions, so they shut down, or they tell you to go to your room, or children should be seen and not heard. It doesn't mean your emotions go away. It means you start telling yourself a message that you shouldn't show these emotions to your parents or caregivers. And these sensations, this discomfort, it remains in your body and it doesn't feel good, and your nervous system is not relaxed. It's activated. And so you need a way to calm down, and food becomes very much the out for this. It becomes the solution for this because it's accessible. It gives you a dopamine rush. It kind of buffers that pain. And over time, this becomes automatic. You want to go to food to soothe yourself. And so if we fast forward, we just start seeing you're out of control with food. You're gaining weight. You have health issues. You don't know what's going on. And it's that at that point when you started using food to soothe, food no longer became just the thing you nourished yourself with, or when you were hungry you ate. It's now tied up with, it's the thing that calms you when you're stressed. It's the thing that calms you when you have an emotion or you feel lonely. It's kind of like the soothing thing you have in your life. And so it takes on these two roles. And one of these roles it's not meant to have. This makes this relationship to food seem very out of control, and you never really learn what works for your body. And so diets become this obvious fix because you think you're out of control. You think something's wrong with you. And I totally get it. I felt the exact same way. Some of the times I knew I was emotionally eating, but most of the time this pattern just came on so automatically. I thought I was broken as well. I thought I needed the right diet. I needed to make sure I was eating a certain amount of calories because I was seeing the impacts of this on my body and my self-esteem and how I felt. And it wasn't until I tried so many practitioners and I wasn't getting the solution and I wasn't able to sustain the changes I was trying to make that I realized that I was emotionally eating, and that this was so different than, a diet. A diet couldn't fix this. And as I started healing my emotional eating, as I started doing the deeper work, I realized I didn't really need to control food that much, because if food had its rightful place in my life, I would only eat it when I was hungry. I would understand the foods that felt good to me. I would want to nourish my body with nutrient-dense foods. I would know how foods that didn't digest well would feel in my body, and I can make a conscious choice. I could become sovereign around food. And this was only because I was healing my relationship to food, healing my emotional eating, that I could then heal my relationship to food as well. The diet mentality that we are sold, it really plays into this emotional eating pattern, because when you see yourself out of control with food and a diet says, oh, this diet's going to help you stop being hungry, this diet's going to cure this, you just have to eat this amount this way and you're going to lose the weight, you think it's forever. It's not sustainable, and it pulls you further and further away from your body. The diet says, I'm the authority and you need to listen to me. But you are the authority on your body, and you need to learn how to become the authority on your body. You need to learn the steps to doing that, not outsourcing it to a diet. And that's what's going to create this relationship to food where you feel safe. Because at the same time you're doing this, you're healing your emotional eating so that food becomes clearer and clearer to you. Right now, if you're an emotional eater and you're dieting, your way of relating to food is muddied by your emotional eating pattern. And so you cannot clearly see food or feel it in your body. And so food becomes this enemy in your life, because all you've ever seen is that you felt out of control with food. You felt like, if I could only control food, then I could lose the weight, then I'd be the right size, then I would be accepted, I'd be loved. And it's all of these layers that are playing in. And it's not really that. It's that your out of control behavior with food is showing up because you're using it as a coping mechanism, and you were never able to fully learn how to nourish your body, because food and the soothing mechanism and using food to soothe yourself became connected. And so I see this with clients all the time. Doesn't matter how much I share about, nourishment and calories are not all created equal. It's still very prevalent in our work, because every time you look at a meal, you're thinking, I'm eating too much, it's too many calories, and immediately you're disconnecting from your body. It's a process to disconnect from the number. The number of calories doesn't mean the meal is healthy or not healthy for you. If you have 500 calories of cake and 500 calories of broccoli, they're very different. And I think I mentioned something similar in a previous video. But we need to eat in a way that satisfies our hunger. And when we do, we're going to eat the right amount of calories for our body, along with that food having the right amount of nutrients, micronutrients, macronutrients. It's going to taste good. It's going to fill us up. This is so important for food. And when we're doing that, we're not triggering our brain to say, we didn't eat enough, so I'm hungry. And as we learn to do that, when we're actually hungry, food becomes less and less like the enemy, because we're also doing the work to heal our emotional eating. And so if this sounds like something you're struggling with, you're constantly thinking about the numbers or the calories, and you struggle with emotional eating, there needs to be a different way to approach this. You can't be on a diet and heal your emotional eating, because by being on a diet, you are disconnecting from your body and how you feel in your body, and you're not going to be connected to know how to heal your emotional eating. If you're looking to the diet to tell you when you should be hungry and how much you should eat, you're so disconnected from your body, because you need to be in your body to heal your emotional eating. And that means knowing when you're satisfied with food, when you're truly hungry versus emotionally hungry. It's important. And so this is part of the work we do inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program. You're learning how to nourish your body and discerning true from emotional hunger, but learning how food feels in your body. Are you satisfied with meals? Does this feel good in your body? Not just, I need to eat this amount of calories to lose weight. If you're eating the amount of calories your body needs and nourishing your body with the nutrients it needs, it will release weight. It's really that diet mentality keeps you in a stress mode that makes you hold on to weight when you're micromanaging your food. We're also looking at your emotional eating triggers. So as you become more connected to your body and seeing where you're triggered into your emotional eating, we start resolving that, so that now food becomes food, and we can work with your emotional eating triggers and the emotions that are popping up. And this helps to start creating a relationship to food that feels easeful and peaceful, because you know what to do. And if you're interested in support in getting to this next step in resolving your emotional eating from the root, I'd love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program. I'll put the links below. This program is a 12-week container where you're learning how to nourish yourself, how to connect back to your body, and how to move through those emotions that are triggering your emotional eating. And this starts creating that ease, peace, and confidence around food and in your body that you've been looking for, because you start actually looking at this pattern at the root. You're not controlling food. You're not on the surface trying to control these things. You're getting to the root so that the pattern shifts sustainably. And so if you're ready for support and the program is of interest to you, the next step would be to book in an emotional eating clarity call. On the call, I find out more about you, what you've tried, and if I can support you in the program. So the link for that is below. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.